In this training video, we are going to look into basically the patient ledger. Okay, so we're going to look into patient ledger in more detail now. Okay, so let's log in here, and we are into the application. So first thing, let's see how you can get to the patient ledger. Okay, from where you can really get into a patient ledger. Okay, so as you can see, we are on today's appointments page, and patient ledger button is right here. So this button ledger actually is here from several different places in the application, and you can get to this literally from almost anywhere. Okay, so it's there on the appointments page. So you can just select this particular patient, and if you click ledger, it's going to take you into the patient's ledger. Okay, it's on the checkouts page. So on the checkouts, if you select this and you click ledger, it's going to take you into the ledger. Okay, it's on the home page as well. So you can say home, I just want to find a patient, Burke, find this particular patient, and you can select this patient and click ledger. It's going to take you into the ledger. Okay, it's also at the patient level. So for example, when I click this last name of Burke, I'm into the patient's demographics, insurance details, and all that, right? So on the personal info, which is this page here, for the patient, there is a ledger button. So you can jump directly into ledger from here as well. Okay, and finally, the last place I'm going to show is, it's in the encounter basic information page as well. So this is today's encounter. I'm just going to open it up, and you will see that on the encounter basic information screen, the ledger button is there as well. So literally, you can get to there from anywhere in the application. Okay, so having said that, now let's click this and let's go into Burke Allison's ledger. Okay, so as you can see, it takes you into the patient Burke Allison's ledger right away. Okay, oh, and one thing I forgot is, of course, see, this is the billing application, right? So you can get to the billing application from the home page by clicking the billing link on the left hand side, if you recall. And here also you can get to the patient ledger from here by clicking patient quick ledger button. Okay, so anyway, since we came here already, as you can see, the patient name is already populated for you. If you came to ledger from this link here, you'll have to actually find a patient and select a particular patient before you can see all the charges in the patient's ledger. Okay, so I'm going to do a show here, and this is going to show all the charges for the patient. Okay, all the charges for date of services on or after 1/1/2007. Okay, and you can filter these charges. So this is the patient's ledger. It's an ongoing charges thing, and let's say you wanted to see only charges after 2008. Okay, so you can just do that, and you will be able to see charges only after 2008. As you can see, it's much less now. Okay, if a particular patient could have multiple case types. The patient might be major medical first, then the patient was turned into a cash patient. So you can filter the patient's charges based on the case types. Also, this particular patient seems like he's a complete major medical patient. So that's why we are only going to see case type major medical. So you not only see the patient's ledger, but you can really filter out the information and see whatever you want from the ledger by selecting some of these filters. Okay, you can see only the outstanding charges. You can see only the paid charges, or by default you are seeing all charges. So for example, this charge here, the balance is 0, whereas this charge has a balance on it. That's why it's showing you all. Let's try to see what this is. So paid and outstanding, like I said. Okay, so now let's take a look at what all we are showing in the ledger here. Okay, so the main thing to really look into from a concept standpoint is the responsibility. Okay, so as you can see, there is a responsibility filter here also. So now what happens is, well, actually, before we go to the responsibility, I wanted to first kind of point out, when do charges come into the ledger? Okay, that's a very important thing to know, because conceptually you have the SOAP notes, right? You are checking in a patient, the doctor is making the SOAP notes, and you're checking out the patient. Are the charges going into the ledger at that time? No. So when do charges really get entered into the ledger? And the answer to that is when you do code charges button. Okay, so that's the button, if you recall, in one of the training sessions, when we say that, that's the button that really takes the SOAP notes, okay, and generates or codes charges for the patient, and that's when the charges are going to get inserted into the patient's ledger. Okay, so if the encounter, so for example, unless the status of the encounter is not code, unless the encounter is in coded state, charges are not going to appear in here. Okay, so when you check out a patient, the patient is always in a ready to code status, if you recall, right? So unless you do code charges, they're not going to come in here. Okay, and now let's take a look at the responsibility. Okay, so what happens is, and this really is determined by the case type. So if the case type is major medical, right, the way the charges get coded are they're always coded to the primary insurance. Okay, so when it's a major medical, they automatically get coded to the primary. Okay, second thing, if well, so initially they got coded to the primary. Okay, now if the case type is cash, right, so if it's a cash patient, they get automatically coded to guarantor patient. So what that means is the charges immediately become the patient's responsibility because there is no primary insurance involved. Okay, so that's what it means. Now the third scenario is, well, it's a major medical, and we did this, if you recall, in the apply payment or the payment posting tutorial or the video. So initially the charges got coded as major medical or primary. Okay, then we went and posted payment. So you are seeing that example here. So we posted payments from the primary insurance, so that's why you are saying insurance one paid this much. Okay, and this is the adjustment. And then if you recall, in the apply payment posting, there is a small checkbox there where it says bill to next. Okay, so that was checked, and what that did was the balance, here's a charge, and here is the balance after the insurance payment and the adjustment are posted. It moved that balance actually over to the guarantor patient. That's why you're seeing here that the responsibility of this particular charge now has changed and it has become guarantor patient. Okay, so that's how the responsibility changes or is set initially automatically. Initially for major meds, it's always going to be set to primary. After payment posting, it's going to go to the secondary if the patient had a secondary payer listed on the encounter. Okay, if not, it's going to go straight to the guarantor patient. Okay, and then of course for cash patients, it's always going to get set automatically to guarantor patient. Okay, so that's the important concept about responsibility, and you can filter this out. So you can say, well, I want to find out all the charges which the patient is responsible, and it's going to pull up just these charges. If you do 2007, just to get a better picture here, we'll see all charges is going to pull where the responsible party is patient. Okay, let's say if I want to find out all the charges which are payer responsible, so here you go. So some of them might be primary. There you go. So there is one secondary, so just as an example case, so that's how we will see the responsibility. Okay, so that's the responsibility there. Okay, this is the balance, that's the stuff. Now you can, of course, now here is another option here. Just like patient statement, you can actually print out a statement right from the ledger. So you can filter these charges any which way you want from 2007, 2008. I want to see responsibility any, I want to see everything there. Or let's say I just want to see a case type as major med. Maybe I just want to see from 2008. So you can filter whatever charges you want here, and then you can actually just do a view print. And this is exactly like the patient statement. You're going to get a printed version of the patient's ledger. And here, in fact, it also allows you to specify whether you want to see the charges only or with payments in the statement. Okay, so let's see charges only, because with payments is basically what you're seeing here, and you're going to see the balance and everything. But if we say charges only, let's click this and see. Okay, see, it's going to show you just the charges. Okay, that's all. So you can get this kind of statement in any which way you want. Now if you say with payments, you're going to of course see everything. You're going to see the charge, the discounts, insurance one paid, insurance two paid, patient paid, and then the balance. Okay, so you can print out these kind of so this is basically just a patient statement. So another way to print out the charges for the patient, or a statement for the patient from the ledger, by filtering out different things in the ledger. Okay, so that's one thing here. Now a couple of more functions in the ledger I'm going to show is actually something to do with changing the responsibility. Okay, so let's say see this particular charge here, its responsibility is primary. Okay, but let's say for some reason we want to change the responsibility to the patient, and that can be done here. So you select that and you click view charges. Okay, and actually I'm going to have a separate tutorial on changing responsibility. Okay, so maybe I think the better option would be to just get to that during that tutorial, because it's a little bit more involved and we want to go through separate scenarios of why you would want to change the responsibility, under which circumstances, and so on and so forth. Okay, but what I can show you is you can really see the charges here by clicking any of the date of service. So I click 314 and I'm going to see the view charges. And this is an interesting function. It's a little bit advanced function, but this is going to show you the trail. Okay, so here are the charges. The original thing was it was billed to Blue Cross. Okay, these were billed to Blue Cross. Okay, then we posted a payment on the 98943, which is this one right here. Okay, this one, as you can see, we have posted a payment there of $10. Okay, that's why it's showing payment posted, and then it comes as a second entry saying, here is the balance, and this is now guarantor patient responsible. That's why you're saying the status is billed to patient, payer is guarantor patient. Okay, so it's a little bit advanced topic here, and so whatever charges are outstanding, it allows you to select them. Okay, so for instance, I can say this is billed to patient right now, it is guarantor responsibility, but I want to really bill the insurance again, or maybe bill this to the secondary insurance. So let's say this encounter had a primary insurance, but we forgot to actually add the patient's secondary insurance. So how would we do that, right? So for that, let's see here, we click add new payer, and in here we can just say this is the list of insurances. This list is actually the list of insurance policies from the patient that is getting pulled. Okay, so I'm going to, let's say, select Medicare. So this is the secondary payer, for example. I'm going to click save here. So we added actually a secondary on the encounter by clicking this add new payer. Okay, and now we can just change the responsibility here. We're going to say change responsibility to Medicare. We're going to select this. So instead of billed to as guarantor patient, instead of making the patient responsible, we actually want to change it and make Medicare responsible. Okay, so we will do that and we'll click save, and as you can see, it changed the responsibility here. Okay, the bill status became billed, payer became Medicare. Okay, so this is an important function here where you can really change the responsibility, and that's one scenario where, let's say, the patient you forgot, or somebody forgot to add the secondary insurance at the encounter level, and then everything got billed, somebody did the payment posting, and then it became patient responsibility when you realized, oh, this should have actually been billed out to the secondary insurance before it moved over to the patient responsible. Okay, so that's how you can do it. As you select this, you need to add a new payer, because at the insurance level the secondary payer was not specified, it was only a primary payer that was specified. That's why I added a new payer, and then when you go to do change responsibility, you see that payer listed here. Okay, and then you can just, you can do it right back also. Let's say we really didn't want to do that. We just wanted to assign this to a patient, and somebody maybe did this by mistake. So you can just select that and say, I want to move it back to actually guarantor patient. There you go. I moved it back to guarantor patient. Okay, so you can pretty much do whatever you want, change responsibility very easily in this view charges button. Okay, that's the one thing here. The other thing that you can do is the delete charges. So for instance, maybe something got inserted as duplicate by mistake, let's say, so you can just go in here and select this, and if you click delete charges, it's going to get deleted from the ledger. Okay, so that's one option here. Now view applied payments, we already did in the unapplied payment tutorial. So you can click that, and you use that to unapply payments. Okay. The final thing I wanted to show is the patient balances button here. Okay. Well, actually, let's do this. Before we go to the patient balances, I want to look at a couple of things here. So, basically it's showing the balance here, right? So this is all the charges. So this is the initial charge minus these payments, minus any guarantor paid payments, minus any discounts, you get the balance. Okay. Now, of course, discounts are mostly for cash patients, so in which case you won't have any insurance paid. It will be straight the charge minus the discount will be the balance. Okay. So that's how that is getting calculated. Under here, what you are seeing are the patient unapplied deposits. So like the copays, if you recall in apply payment, you can click this and you will see, well, what is this? So here is, you see all the copays and the deposit amounts, and this is the unapplied amount. So these are just sort of sitting in the patient's ledger, but they have not actually been posted to individual charges. Okay, so that's why this is very helpful. So for example, you come in here and you see, well, the primary has paid and the responsibility has become guarantor patient, and this is the balance on the patient. But why is it showing the balance when the patient has actually paid a copay there, right? So for that, you can just go here and see, well, this copay was done on 12/28/2007, for example, but it was not really posted. So you would go here and then actually apply the copay, just like we did, exactly the same way as we did in the apply payments. Okay, so this is another way to apply that particular copay, to here, for example. See, this is the copay, we're going to post it here, $20, and click apply. Okay, so that's how you would go and see it posted the self-pay of $20 now. Okay, and that's how you would go ahead and apply. You can go back to the deposits here. Okay, and let's say I'm going to apply the next copay that we didn't apply. So this is another way of applying patient side payments from the ledger. Okay, so here this balance is only $15. So let's just go ahead and enter, apply that, and you'll see the unapplied amount became 5 here, because it was a total copay of $20, out of which we applied only $15. Okay, so that's how you can go back and apply all those payments from the ledger. Okay, if you wanted to. Overpayment credits, this is also shown separately, so that you can go ahead and apply these also separately. Okay, and the application here is this is also kind of similar. You can just select this and actually oh, I don't see an apply button here, so maybe we need to have an apply button there to apply the overpayments or the credits on the patient's account. Okay, or you can also actually refund overpayments and credits. So that's one way to do that. Okay, so that's these two things. So how do we get with the net balance, right? The net balance is basically the sum of all the balance from the charges minus the unapplied deposits minus the overpayments, and you get this particular thing down here. Okay, and of course if it's negative, it means it's a credit, right? So that's what that is showing there. Finally, I wanted to quickly touch on the patient balances button, and this button actually is a concise sort of view of the ledger. It's showing, of course, the case type is there, so you can filter it. You can just say any case type there. You can say find, there's a on or after date and all that. So very similar to what we had here. You have the same type of filters for the patient balance also, but it's going to show a very concise summary. Here are all the charges to date. Here are all the primary payments that were posted in the ledger. Here are all the secondary payments that were posted. Here are the adjustments. Here are the patient payments that were posted, and these payments are essentially the sum of these columns: primary payments, secondary payments, patient payments. Okay, so all that summed together, it's showing this in a summary fashion. Okay, and here are all the patient deposits that were not applied and are sitting there. So that's this value down here. Okay, so this, like I said, this is showing a very concise view of everything. And here is the final, well, here are the discounts. So that's this particular column. Okay, the sum of all this. Okay, and here is the current responsibility. So it's showing the sum of all the charges which are assigned to primary as the responsibility. Okay, so that's this. All charges that are assigned to secondary, that's that. And all charges that are patient responsible, this. Okay, and then here is the total. So this is actually a very powerful view, and it is showing a lot of information but completely summarized and shown in a very concise fashion, and you can actually really print this out and give it to the patient. Okay, so if they don't want to see all this itemized stuff and all that, they can just see all this summarized very quickly in a concise fashion. And this patient balance I'm going to show you is also everywhere where you have the ledger button. Okay, so you can actually give this printout to the patient straight from the appointments page, or you can find out quickly by looking at the patient from the appointment page without really having to go to the ledger quickly, if the patient owes, or if there is a credit on the patient's account, for example. Okay, the same button is there at the checkout stage, so you can look at this even at the checkout. Okay, so I'm going to go and show those to you, but before we do that, I'm just going to show one last navigational aspect of this, is that from the ledger you can see here, you can click this button here, click that link there, and you can actually go back, jump back into the patient's file, which is your demographics and all that stuff. Okay, this is where we came from. So it gives really good navigational capabilities to go from the ledger back to the patient, or go from the ledger back to the patient, and let's say you wanted to check the insurance detail, so that's the insurance. So here are all the policies for the patient, right? If you recall, we added one of these policies as a new payer in when we did the view charges, so you can quickly go from here to there, and then let's see, go back to ledger, without having to go to the home page, right? So that's one way of navigation. Another thing is you can click the date of service here and jump straight into the patient's encounter here. Okay, so that's the basic encounter information, and as you can see, here's the ledger button to come and jump back into the ledger. Okay, so that's the navigational aspect. Final thing that I wanted to show was the patient balance. See this button here, it's on the home page as well, and so you can search let's say patient, and search patient Berg there, and let's say if you do this, instead of going into the details of the ledger, you can just click this patient balance button, and it is going to show you the complete summary. Okay, from all of that, you can change this to 2008 and then just get the summary for 2008. Okay, so there you go. If you recall the numbers in the ledger, these are exactly matching those. Okay, here is the total charges, primary payments, adjustments, patient payments, unapplied deposits, and here is the balance, which is a credit. Okay, and this is the current responsibilities. Okay, and you can, like I said, right click on the white space and print this out and give it to the patients. Okay, so this is really the summarized view of the ledger, available in the home page. If you go to checkouts here, see, it's right there. Okay, so it's on the appointments also, so this is also right. So again, a very powerful thing, summary, very quick version, which you can even print and give it out to the patient. Okay, so that's the ledger, the details thereof, as well as the patient balance, and we kind of touched a little bit on the responsibility aspect, the changing responsibility basically, and I'm going to go that in more detail in another training session, and explain actually another advanced way of how you can change responsibility and stuff like that. Okay, so that's a separate topic, but otherwise we covered most of the other things in the ledger. Printing, how you can print out charges from the ledger, just like your patient statement, how you can possibly delete some charges if you wanted to from the ledger. Okay, and how the ledger kind of looks with the balances, how the balances are calculated, how the patient unapplied payments are there, and over credits as well. Okay, so that's the ledger. Okay, and that concludes this training session.